So let me just say hello to those of you who are here for the first time. Some of you are not familiar with my channel, so let me introduce myself. I am Nancy Trevelato. It's such a pleasure to have you here. We discuss about matters that should be our everyday life, but sometimes they are considered just like a spiritual reality, the non-physical reality, whilst we are here in the physical body. My endeavor is to understand phenomenon that happens here in the physical life, but also beyond this physical dimension, so that we can bring everything together. We are spirits living in a physical body, so we should live accordingly. Every moment is a moment for us to experience ourselves in a whole. So I love to do this in a down to earth manner, trying to bring the facts, but also demystifying some of the ideas that sometimes just keep going further and further without enough evidence. So, you guys, please help me with that, bringing your questions, and I can address to the extent of my knowledge as much as I can. Wonderful. So please let me take a look at the first question here. We already have some of you. You helped me a lot, like Peter did, putting a cue or writing question right before your comment. So I know which ones I have to go through and try to answer. So I'll go and start with Peter, who posed the first question. That is, what effect do masses of people mourning and praying for the late queen have? That's a good question. Does this energy reach her? Does it hold her closer to the denser reality or empowers her to move to more subtle realms? You know what is interesting about this question, Peter, is that it does not have one unique answer because it depends a lot on the type of energy people are sending, of course, with the thoughts and the mourning that carries energy. And that energy carries information. So it depends on what sort of information is going with that energy. But it also depends on the condition of the person who just passed away. And by the way, this is a fact for everyone. So sometimes I wonder how some of these celebrities, just as the queen, but I guess in the case of the queen, it was so peaceful, right? She died without much of a fuss at an elder age of natural causes. So it was more like respecting her. We were paying some homage to her rather than anything else. But some celebrities, which is pretty much what you are talking about here, Peter, some celebrities, they pass away in such a way that there is such a commotion. So people crying and suffering. And you know, sometimes the masses, as you said, they can act in such strange ways. It's almost as if it gained a life of its own and it can react emotionally. Sometimes groups of people start just creating a resonance of the feelings and of the energy and of the reactions they have one with another, and that grows to big proportion. But speaking about those who pass away, sometimes it can be very tough. It can be very tough when there is a lot of emotion lingering to it, when there is a lot of pain. So this brings to my mind actually Princess Diana when she passed away, which was out of surprise at an early age, with a lot of those situations going on with the royal family and all of the situations revolving around her marriage that was just breaking and everything. So that was something that must have been very hard for her. And that makes me wonder more how this could have affected her. But in general, it does affect a lot of people. Some will just pass away and go to some realms, let me put in this way. It's almost like some communities or layers into this non-physical dimension, spirit world, that they are less connected with the physical reality. Therefore, less of these energies reach them. But sometimes, some of these people, they can be in a situation in which they receive sometimes the love from and mourning from those who are left behind, but sometimes the hatred. Let us imagine what happened to some of these war leaders that we had that could have been so impactful. Actually, they were so impactful. Their passage through history and how much they affected people. And everybody hurting them in a way, or hating, or suffering from what they did, that can be very hard. In the case of the Queen, my feeling is that she was used to it when she was here, then she's used to it when she's there. There's not so much of a difference between the energy she would receive here and the one she received from there. But that is an interesting point for us to think, right? How would we feel when it's our moment to pass away? Who will think about us, and in which way? Did you ever stop to think of that? I mean, all of you, as sometimes I do. And there were things I wish I had done different. There were things that I wish I could have already completed, but I hadn't yet, and I'm still trying to. But it's very important that we look back to who or what we have been in this lifetime, what type of energy we have left behind. This is very important, very important. And other celebrities that comes to our mind, for example, Elvis Presley. People do not leave him alone, not even now. Have you seen some of the cartoons we see? There is a strange figure and they say, oh, Elvis returned, or the alien is Elvis. This sort of comment, it kind of can haunt the person depending on the condition that the person is in between life. But hopefully, and thankfully, usually there are some spiritual mentors that try to help create some sort of shielding around the consciousness who is there in between lives. But does that always work? Not always. To what extent it does? Sometimes even consciousnesses or people who have been here through their lifetimes, very bad influences. As I said, some war leaders, still sometimes they receive some protection and shielding. Otherwise, they get worse than they were before. And eventually, they are going to be reborn. And everything that can be done to make them improve, that's what the spiritual mentors do. Because the more each of us grow internally, gain more of wisdom, more of evolution, like in spiritual evolution, evolutionary growth, then the more we can be balanced in our period between lives. So I do not know how much that answers your question, Peter, because there is not so a straightforward answer. I hope that it did help. Actually, I was to do a video about this because that can be quite interesting topic. Shall we move on? Yes. You guys keep putting your comments here, okay? I see some of you with questions that shows you have done the consciousness development program. That's very nice. And there we go into other topics, right? That brings so many other ideas. I have Namaste. Hi. Is it true that we are coming here from different soul families, from different planets in the universe? What can it mean? We are just here to learn and move on and return to another realm. Namaste. It's very hard for me to answer your question. I can answer from my point of view, but you ask about some specific references that it's very difficult for me to know exactly what you are talking about. Because when you say different soul families, what is the concept behind that? People use that in different ways. And sometimes there are things that are just said in a way that they sound impactful, that they sound interesting, that they sound easy to understand, that not always it makes a lot of sense. So our soul family, and let me try to bring this into a translation that it's my idea of what that could mean. I never heard this expression. But we all have our families as souls, as consciousness, as selves, because we have met so many people and we have had so many different roles in previous lives. Then some of you may ask, how do you know, Nancy? Well, I know because of evidences I see during out of body experiences. But I also think it's very logical based on what we observe in this world and the different conditions from people who are in situations that they experience some kind of a reaction to them or conditions that come to their lives that could not be explained just by coincidence. Also, there are a lot of studies that bring pretty interesting evidences that we cannot easily dismiss about past lives. So putting all of that together, how many lives have we had? How many families have we had? Which of them are the closest? And then it brings to us a very intriguing question, not necessarily very easy one to digest, that is, among those who are close to us now, and you can include everyone, friends, maybe friends from long time, recent friends that you feel a great bond with, family members. Family members and friends do not include only those that we like. Sometimes those we do not agree with and we do not go so well with are the ones that we have the greatest bond. But when we look at all of them, it would be an interesting reflection from all of us to consider or to ponder which of them are the closest to me in terms of family from multiple lives? Which of them I'm just encountering briefly? So that is a good point. Do we come from different planets in the universe? I think it's kind of logical. Because as consciousnesses, how long have we been evolving to be able to pose such questions today? Questions that go much beyond this moment, this life, what we see, even the radical evidences, like the very obvious evidences that science in general brings to us. So if we are pondering about all of that, how long did it take us to start observing and questioning about this? I don't know. I'm not bringing answers. But I think it's very possible that we have lived in other solar stars before or solar bodies. But then what difference does it make? It would be just a different environment with a different body. What is important for us as souls, as consciousnesses, is actually how lucid we are, how evolved we are, how further ahead we can see. Further ahead, I do not mean future. I mean the reality from different perspectives, different dimensions, encompassing all of the histories, personal histories of all of humankind that right now brings all of us to the moment we are living, which is quite remarkable moment, with some situations that we would be surprised of thinking we would ever experience them in the past. I think that is what is the most valuable for us now to think about. But I think it's pretty obvious that we are not alone in the universe. That does not mean there are extraterrestrials everywhere. I think the idea of belonging to another astral body, I mean solar body, I think that is right now too popular. And then people just jump into conclusions or start having experience that not necessarily are well based. Perhaps one day I could do a video only about that to discuss about this. Because this confuses us, right? It confuses us a lot because we hear a lot of different information from different sources, but kind of pushing us into this idea that we are so much more exposed to the life beyond the planet Earth than we actually are, which does not mean it's not there, which does not mean we do not contact beings from other planets. But it's not as generalized as it is. So I do not know what you mean. So you ask me, what can it mean? I do not know. I just made some comments trying to bring some light to it. But my idea is more or less what I have mentioned here. We are all interconnected in a way. And it seems that from one life to another, things kind of bring us together and bring situations for us to face what is challenging to us, what we can learn from, what we could adjust in terms of our energetic signature, the information around of us, and how we relate to others and to the world. That is probably the most complex ideas, one of the most complex ideas for us to think about. It's almost like, what are we doing here? Where we come from? And that's more or less what you were asking, right? Wonderful. Um, can I move on? Yes, everything good with that? And Arisham, did you ever meet your astral projected pet during an astral projection? I did meet once one of my pets, one that I loved very, very, very much. It was indeed family to me. And it was a bird, it was a starling that well, Wagner and I, we got it really like with eyes closed, and we had to feed and teach the little bird how to eat, how to fly, literally, how to take a bath, everything. And so that was very dear. But once we had a couple of friends who stayed in our house, and they did everything different from what we instructed, and the bird disappeared. And that was one of the most painful moments of my life. It was 1 year and a half later. Sometimes I would still surprise myself, suffering a lot. And sometimes when I tell the story with details, I almost suffocate because it seems, and that's my conclusion, is not so easy for some of the emotions we experience to just get out and disappear, and we are over it. So I did meet this little bird, but just like 2 days after she disappeared, and because I was so emotionally involved, I cannot be so sure that was an astral projection or just me sensing the energy of her present in the house. And I would, when you feel the presence of someone, even though you are not seeing the person, I would feel it. But my big question, because I was trying to ponder what was going on, my question was, is she here? Like with her little astral body present? Or am I just sensing her energy here because she was here until yesterday or the day before yesterday? That is a question not so easy to answer. But I'd say more like a projection. At least I hope so. Otherwise, her fate would have been worse. So if she died, that is the least bad, if you understand what I mean. But I know many people who met their pets and have interesting stories. So it seems to be possible. Have you ever met yours, Arisha? Or do you have a pet that you would like to meet? That is interesting. But sometimes projected, people meet their pets also projected. So that is quite an interesting situation. Is it okay with you guys if I bring a question from one of those who left a remark or a comment in the video that I just posted yesterday? Let me bring it here so we can answer to our dear friends who are always here with us, but today they could not. One of them is JW, and he says, lately during my OBEs, I have been experiencing a lot of difficulty moving and with vision. My body feels extremely heavy, making it difficult to move away from my physical body. Sometimes it regards to vision. Intending or improved clarity helps, but most of the time I end up with tunnel vision, almost like I am looking out of one eye and then the OBE ends. Even passing through the walls is difficult and I tend to get stuck. I'm not sure if this is relevant, but I have been feeling more depressed lately, and it was about a month ago when my OBEs were much easier to navigate. Interesting, right? So you were more depressed, you were experiencing all of this, but about a month ago, your OBEs were easier to navigate. See, this is very complex. Let me divide this in two parts, okay, JW? First one is everything you described up to the last phrase is very much consistent with an out-of-body experience when we are still very close to the physical body. I believe you already came to that conclusion, but so you see the difficulty in seeing, and you use your intent to have more clarity, but it still is difficult to move. All of this you described. So what would I suggest? I would say a bit more of energy work before going to bed or before trying to leave the body. That would make a big difference, because then the energies would be more loose, would be easier to detach. However, when you say you have been a little bit more depressed lately, but on the other hand, it's been easier to navigate. I do not fully understand what you mean by easier to navigate. But my understanding from what you are saying is that you are finding it easier to detach from the body, however, not so easy to remain lucid. All of this here to me, at the end of the day, what I would suggest is try to work a bit more with energy before you go to bed or before you do your exercise. We have to always be very suspicious when we feel more depressed. Suspicious because sometimes we are sad, sometimes we are tired, sometimes it's just our body who is, with something out of balance. Sometimes it's just because it's winter, we do not have enough light. There are so many different explanations, but sometimes it's because some sort of energy and spiritual presence may be close by and it's influencing us. So I guess first we would have to try and analyze which is the case there, and you have to use your will to move on outside the body and gain more lucidity, but you need more energy work. Do you do VELO sometimes? For those of you who are watching now, there is an exercise that I call VELO because it's very complete. It's voluntary energetic longitudinal oscillation. I love it. It's very complete. It deals with all of your energy. It helps you to be more flexible, your energy more flexible, but it also gives you more self-defense. So it's very complete exercise. Now, why am I saying this? Because what I would suggest to you, JW, is do a longer VELO before going to bed, like even if it's like a 40-minute, half an hour, 1 hour VELO before going to bed, just for you to break this. It's not like you have to do every night or every day. No, it's just for a few days so you can break this pattern that is there established. I think this is very important. And also, while you are working with VELO, remember, you can use VELO when you are outside the body. So when you say here in your description, so sometimes I feel heavy, sometimes it's hard to see what's around, even when you are projected and lucid. So that is like a fuzzy vision or blurred vision. This happens a lot. Doesn't matter. And if you like you cannot move completely free, do VELO. Even when you are out there in the astral dimension, you are going to see it makes a big difference. And if there is any interference, it will help you to be lucid of what is interfering. So going back to the questions of those of you who are here present, I have Vinit. How are you doing, Vinit? Nice to have you here. The question is how to not to think about your physical body during astral projection. That's a tricky question. I guess we have to get used to the idea of being outside the body. Sometimes we are so much concentrated in detaching from the body, that when we are there, we cannot let go of the idea that, hey, we have detached. Hey, my body is there in bed. One thing that I would do in this case is to think more. It's almost like when you are, what's the name of that in English? When you are daydreaming, I guess that's the expression. When you are daydreaming and you start creating in your mind a situation, try to think more about your projection. Of course, we can never know where we are going to be projected into. We do not necessarily control all of the details, and that is the key of the astral projection. But think, when I am there, well, I will look around. I will test my astral body. I will see how my energy look like. Bring to your mind more the idea of you being out there. You are a consciousness, you are a soul, you are a being, that you actually exist beyond the physical body. The physical body is temporary, it's just a moment in our lives. Right now, it's so important, right? And it hit us so much with every little detail of life. But think, that's not me. And there is so much that I can do out there. The more you think about this, the easier it will become for you to not think about the physical body. Another thing I'm going to suggest to you is check if when you remember of the physical body, if you are still very close to the body. Usually that is the case. We are, for example, just floating around our bedroom or close to our house, and then it's a little bit harder not to think of it. Aim to go further. For example, think, I'm going to fly higher and higher and higher and higher and higher and higher. When you do that, your attention will be so much on what you are doing in that moment that you completely forget the idea that your body is there. So this phase you are talking about is more common when we just detached, or when we have been struggling in a good sense to detach from the body, to gain more control. So try to bring this idea or this internal attitude or inner attitude to your experience when you are there. That helps a lot. Okay. Um, Arisha, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correct. Thank you for your question. Is mental core liberation the basis of remote viewing? Let me explain mental core liberation first. So we do have the astral projection, and in the astral projection, we have a liberation, meaning we project, we get our astral body, that's why the astral projection, free, liberated from the physical alignment. But sometimes, after we do have the regular astral projection or out of body experience, we may have another separation in which we are no longer observing the world through the astral body. So we let go the physical body, and then we let go the astral body, and then we are our pure lucidity, pure knowledge, pure capacity to perceive and manifest and be. It's hard to explain because it has very little relation with our physical life. So that is the mental core liberation. The mental core we can use as a synonym, perhaps mental body. So it's our mental body. It's the body of awareness, the body of discernment that is out there, free, independently of the denser bodies, including independently of the astral body. So in this case, when we have this liberation, we have a type of perception that is, answering now to Arisha's question, much beyond the remote viewing, much beyond. Our capacity of sensing is not only through the vision, because the remote vision, it's basically seeing something. Of course, we can get a feeling, we can get a sense of the energy that is in the place we are watching at that time with the remote view, the remote vision, but it's not so much a very encompassing awareness of the situation. In the case of the mental core liberation, we can feel as if all of a sudden we can understand the history of the past 300 years, and it gives us a lot of calm and peace, like understanding why things are the way they are. But the mental core liberation usually is very hard to bring a lot of details to the recollection here in the physical brain, because remember, we first have to bring the recollection or the memory of what we have experienced. It's not so much what we have been, it's what we have observed. It's almost like an enlightenment, a cosmic consciousness. Sometimes it's short experience, but with a lot of content. And then we have to bring that here to our non-physical brain, like in the astral body, and then to the physical brain, and then translate it into a language so that we can deal with that. Most of the time, we have more of a feeling than a detailed recollection, most of the time. But we do recall things, otherwise, we could not even study the phenomenon. But I hope I could explain that is different. The remote viewing is more funneled than the astral projection, whilst the mental core liberation is much more expanded than the astral projection. Good. I hope I could answer that. Let me go to Andei's question that he posed here yesterday, actually, when I just reminded you of this talk, and it's a short one, a good one. Can you talk about pre-birth life planning and challenges we plan for our lives? How can someone access their pre-birth plan when they feel lost? So we are here, in a way, talking about the concept of life mission, life plan. What is it that we are here to dedicate to? And that is a very important topic, I guess, and a very broad one. I would like to bring just a few highlights so that we can ponder about this. Not so much a deep discussion, but I will definitely make a note to make a deep discussion on that so that we can go through it for a longer time. But the idea is that when we talk about our life plan, what is it that we have to do in this life? It is included there a number of different aspects, which I'm going to cover very briefly here. Number one is how lucid we are. Lucid meaning not only right now, oh, I know who I am and I am Nancy Trivelato. No, it's much beyond who I am, really, the core, my self, my soul, my being. What is it that I have already done? What is it that I have learned and developed and is positive and is well established inside of me? And what is it that I still have to work on, that I still need to grow more? And what are the concepts that for me, I'm very shallow into them and I don't even know, or I don't even guess they exist. These are the important things. So our lucidity in general, being how much we can grasp of the reality of the multiple dimensions and multiple lives. Why am I saying that? So let me bring this one first. Because the more lucid we are, and that is something that is very hard to assess, but it's something that is so important that all of us think about it. But the more lucid we are, the more we will, in a way, be able to understand what is it that we still have to develop. What is it that we have already developed? What is our commitment? What is it that we can change around of us? Because the reason for us to be here in the physical body is because there is something for us to experience. And experiencing means reacting, doing, sensing, learning, perfecting, making mistakes. But hopefully, mistakes that we did not know how to act in a better way. We were really ignorant about. So, honest mistakes help us to learn more. But when we put things into practice here, we tend to create inside of us like a core, like a characteristic, or developing attributes that are more like attributes of us as beings, not of us just here in this physical body as human beings, as transcendental beings. And then we carry that from one life to another. And each time we are going to be more lucid, more balanced, more serene, therefore happier, therefore contributing more, therefore discerning more, knowing better what's going on around, being able to get away from situations that are not productive to our evolution and to the evolution of others, and focusing more on what is productive. Now, that is very interesting concept, but I do not know your life experience, but I think we all have great limitations on how to do that, because sometimes there are things that we still do not see about ourselves. We may have aspects of our manifestation, of how we feel inside of us, that we would like them to be different. We would like to adjust, but we do not know what exactly are they. And when we do not know why they exist in that way. What can we do to change them? So it's a number of different situations there, but that is what evolution means, knowing more and more. So depending on how lucid we are, the greater complexity will have our life plan. Does it make sense to you? Because why would we put a very complex life plan of, for example, trying to change a political system, an educational system, or trying to change how people think in an area of the world, trying to reduce some of the atrocities we see. And atrocities are not only violence. Most of the atrocities, they are hidden behind a pen or behind a glass, that people are just talking and planning behind. So it's not so easy for us to address that. And if we want to make a change and we want to really produce or make a difference in the world, we have to be strong and lucid. Otherwise, we just succumb. So our lucidity. And then there are other aspects that are more related to what we have done in previous life. Because one of the things of our life plan is that it has to encompass some level of personal challenge. Does it make sense to you guys? Personal challenge, because if we come here to do something, but that something is so easy because we have already done it 10 lifetimes before, several of them. So yeah, so then we are not learning anything new. We are not putting ourselves to the limit of our evolution so that we can really develop more attributes of us as transcendental beings, so that we can carry them with us. In other words, so that when we die, we are more evolved than when we were born, and with less traumas, and with more balance, and with more clarity in our minds, with greater cosmoethics, with greater sense of respect, but not in a Pollyanna way, more in a very down to earth manner, knowing how things work. And in that sense, we have to always think about what is the effect that we have already produced into the world and people's lives in previous moments. Some of them were not ideal, but it's already, over, it's gone, it's sorted out, it's no problem because people already evolved. But some of the things we did, they may still represent some sort of information in our energy and create some conflicts in the relationship we have with some other people in some other region. So our life plan must, in a way, encompass opportunities more than anything, opportunities for us to address that, to work on that. And hopefully we can do something that helps a little bit, humankind to go beyond. That is the hard part, because what we do usually is so constricted to a small space or to a few people. But I'd love to think that even though I have reached a few people, I love to think that I have reached with enough quality, with such a level of information that really clarified them, helped them go a step ahead so they could help someone else and make a change in their lives, or make a change in somebody else's life. And that's how we can do most of the cases. So this is related with our life plan, and there are so many different aspects that are involved into it. Sorry for tripling to the words, which is not so rare, but today's words. Is that okay? Could you guys follow? Let me take a look at your new comments right now, so I see if you are bringing anything to the discussion. Hi, I see Faye here. Wonderful. Trevor in lucid dreams. Okay, so good with all of you, right? Does this idea of the life plan make sense to you? Sometimes I see, Ayande, you are there. Wonderful. Sometimes I see some ideas of life plan that I personally disagree because to me, I don't think it makes a lot of sense. But also when we see evolution, people in between lives, how people are born, situations that happens to people when they pass away. But mostly it's amazing when we are able to sense the spiritual non-physical reality close to people, in their houses, in their places, around of them, when they are with a family member. What is it that changed? Who is close by? I do not want here to say something as if we are in a spooky world that the matrix is operating, but we are in a world that goes beyond the physical world. And we do experience that, but most of the time we cannot perceive all of the different signals. It's almost as if there is so much noise that that specific information gets lost. And when we think of that, we do have a lot to learn and to ponder if we are to do our life plan. And the thing that I don't like very much is when people say, well, you can choose anything you want for your life. Well, yes, absolutely. I agree. And if we do not give up our dreams, we will reach it. Yes, most probably, as long as we have our feet on the ground and we have dreams that are truthful. They are inside of us. They were born with us. We know there's something important. I absolutely believe that is possible to achieve. But because of saying that so superficially, sometimes there are people that they just think they can dream of anything. So their life situation is one, their skills are into a certain area of human abilities. And they are at a certain age, at a certain condition, health condition, but they simply dream of being someone that they would need to die and be born again. Okay, if you die and you are born again, even so, perhaps you cannot dream of anything because what you are able to do is related to who you are, what you have already done, the synchronicities that come to you, the situations that easily come and grow and evolve nicely, and the obstacles. So those are not just gratuitous. It's not that it happened for no reason. There is usually a situation bringing to that. We are able to overcome the obstacles. We are when we know what the obstacles are and we know what is it that we want to achieve, and it is, I wouldn't say logical, but it's consistent to who we are. So I know, especially in the United States, I have been with this culture and living this culture for so long that they say you can be anything, you can be the next president of the United States. Absolutely. But if everyone who could be the next president would be, then we would have hundreds of thousands of presidents. At each moment we have only one. So yes, you could be the next president, but most probably not. Let us see what is it for you, because otherwise the idea of life mission and what we can be, it's not something that people tend to tell us. Look inside of you. What is important to you? What is it that you were born with? What is it that you would like to accomplish? How can you contribute to yourself and to others, but to yourself as well? We have to put ourselves in the equation of what we do to the world, because if we do not grow, if we do not improve, if we are not well, how can we help others? So I think this idea of bringing the reflection to ourselves, so we see from what we have already lived, what we have already learned, what our limitations are, and observing a bit of our karmic condition. And I don't mean karma as punishment, not at all. I just mean the flow of our personal history throughout lifetimes. We will have lots of hints of what our life plan is. We just need to learn how to look at it and not to go superficial, but on the other hand, not to repress our true convictions just because they are not what society accepts or not what would be easy to achieve. Now, that is so hard what we are talking about, isn't it? It requires self-knowledge, energetic strength to go against the flow, because usually people are not into the same flow. They are into just doing what is more favorable to their success right now, not their success as transcendental beings in terms of their life history, multiple lifetimes. Usually not. So we have to be strong to go against the flow. Otherwise, even energetically, we are completely suffocated. And that is a big challenge. Good. So I went beyond the question, but I couldn't resist. Let me go back here to my sequence. And give me a moment just so that I can find out where I was. Astral travel question, some tips to reach it the fastest way. I do have some tips. Quag, probably I'm not pronouncing correct. If not, you correct me. I'd love to learn how to pronounce it properly. But yes, there are tips, and the tips varies a lot depending on the person, on the case, on what their limitations are. But because of this, I would like to bring here a tip that is good to everyone. That is, study what your difficulties to leave the body are. So the difficulty is in detaching, concentrating, loosening up from the physical body, keeping lucid throughout the process, having a good recollection, bringing the memory back here to the physical body. Where is the difficulty? The biggest achievement we can have when we are trying to control the out of body experience is to learn what is our biggest challenge. When you know what is the area of your biggest challenge, for example, is to let go of the physical body, is to forget the physical dimension so that when you start detaching, you do not keep bringing your attention back here and don't detach. Or is loosening up your energies and therefore getting rid of some of the energetic blockage, or getting rid of some of the fears. And please have in mind that our fears can be unconscious because it could be from previous life's experience. And the idea of astral projection has been somehow repressed, reprimanded since long time. There were periods in our history in some cultures that they would praise the astral projection or the out of body experience. But most of the time, that is a sin, that is dangerous, you cannot do it. Even the government, they train people to do it, to work as weapons. And there are cases, and I know some of the high people who have worked with CIA, etc., to train people to such a task. But, and I don't bring here because I do not want to bring their personal cases, but we can discuss about that. Like loosely in one of our lives. But the idea is that they do train people for that. But they focus on not letting everyone know about the out-of-body experience. Why is it? Because if a lot of people know about the out-of-body experience, then the power will not be in the hands of few. And one big way of stopping people from leaving the body consciously is putting fear inside of them, creating doubts in their minds. Because when we have doubt, if it's okay to leave the body, if it's safe to leave the body, then that is going to be a big obstacle. And that is convenient to many different systems in our society. We want to overcome that. We want to understand the out of body experience for what it is, not as if it's just leisure. It is, but not just. Not as if it's just a rosy experience that you only encounter wonderful spirits. Sometimes you may encounter someone who is, I don't know, confused, troubled. Yes, but don't we here in this lifetime too? Yes, we do. It's natural. Or people would like to create in our minds such expectations and fears that we do not move further. So, would that be an issue like God is bringing to some of you in order to control your out-of-body experience? If it is, my suggestion is understanding the whys, the backstage, why things happen the way they happen, why they are the way they are, why in community, community, or a community in the spiritual world, why is that way? Why some are so positive and some are dirtyish, strange? Why? When we understand the why, the fear is gone and the clarity comes, and we can navigate through the experience without jumping into interpretations and fantasies. So go for information that is trustworthy. That is super important. Other times, the limitations to leave the body, you know what it is? In my experience, that is one of the most prevalent limitations: physical relaxation. Isn't it crazy that we are trying to fly into the skies, into the astral planes, and we are trying to explore, and the limitation is physical relaxation? Yes, it is. Most people, they cannot relax properly to leave the body, and when they do relax, they end up falling asleep. They lose lucidity. So how can we relax and be lucid? So try to see among all of these that I'm saying, Kwang, what would be the limitation? What is stopping you? What is the hardest thing for you to overcome? If you practice a technique, how long can you remain lucid throughout the technique? Until what level you reach? Because if you find out what is blocking you, you have the best of the opportunities, which is to work on that. Most people, something is blocking them and they do not know what necessarily. So 2 tips would be: work a lot with your energy to make it flexible. And now I need to make a big parenthesis, and you all please allow me. It's not true that any energy exercise is equally good. It's not true. The number of people that I sometimes have to help, like in private sessions, that come to me with awful experiences because they have started doing some rituals, some practices, or joining some groups that the overall energy of that practice was not good, or that group. Most of the energy exercises emphasizing having people or making people more sensitive. None or very few emphasize on educating people who already have some level of sensitivity. So you need to find the proper energy exercise for you. And if you, any of you, are sensitive, if you have any perception of the non-physical world, please pay attention to what exercise you do, what type of effect it generates. It's your discernment. I'm not telling you what to do, but hear yourself, observe what you are experiencing. Don't just follow someone else's word blindly. That is very important, because otherwise it can be complex. But do energy exercise by yourself. Don't follow. If you do not know what to do, don't follow anyone. Just sense your energy and keep observing how well you feel, what sort of result it gives to you that evening, following day, and the next one. It's very important. There is a video that I have published in my channel that I call Spiritual Approach During Energy Practice. Something similar to this. All of you should watch that video, because when you do energy exercise, you have to know what is it that you are evoking, and who and what type of energy is coming close. Among all of the different energy exercises, the one that I think it's safest is the VELO technique, which I teach a lot here in the channel. If you are hearing this expression for the first time, you will have videos here telling you how to do VELO technique and what is the VELO technique. It's a method, actually, to work with energy that I have developed, but based on a lot of studies, a lot of research and ancient techniques. But even so, if it's not done appropriately, some people may create some energy movements or allow some spiritual approach that are not ideal. It's not the technique that is producing it. It's the fact that they are allowing those entities, let me put it this way, get close by while they're doing the technique. So we need to have some level of experience. But if you want a technique to do that is safe, do VELO. And the more you do, the more it will help you detach from the body. Physical relaxation, VELO technique. Physical relaxation, VELO technique. And go for it. And then you are going to observe what are the limitations. Sorry, so small question. Some tips to reach the astral projection at will, in a fast way. So you see how tricky your question was, Quag. But I wanted to answer something that was truthful and really helpful, not just some tip that may work today, but tomorrow it doesn't anymore. But try observing all of this. Relax a lot and observe what's stopping you. Good. Yes. Wonderful. I'm going to the next one, and I'm going to try to summarize my answers. But sometimes I'm replying about the subject, but it's really a lot of knowledge behind it, and I do not like to make it shallow. I think it's a matter of respect to your question, to really give all of the different angles that the answer would have or appreciations that it deserves. Okay, and then I have subliminal direction. Jump to third eye theme. Is it very high capability and everybody curious for that? I do not know if you have read, asked the question before, but I do not understand what you are asking. I do not know if your text is not complete or I'm not being able to interpret it. Jump to third eye theme. Good, that I understand. Is it very high capabilities? Do you mean it's very, you need to have a lot of capabilities to have a third eye more active? I do not understand your question. Sorry. But what I can say is it's absolutely possible for any of us to activate our third eye and to put this into good use. But what is activation and good use to each of us? It differs. It does not differ because one is very advanced and the other is not. No. That's not what I mean. What I mean is that some of us, we tend to have a use of the energy of our third eye that is more subtle, more gentle. Not the least less important, not at all. It's more like an intuition, looking at a situation and kind of grasping what's behind, looking at a person and feeling what sort of energy is there. This is third eye. But for others, it's more like seeing an entity, like a type of clairvoyance, seeing spirits. For others, it's more like the remote viewing. And for others, it's more like just sensing the energy pulses of the third eye. So it varies, but it's absolutely possible for any of us to activate our third eye. Is that good? If you guys give me just a moment, I'm going to get some water here. My throat is very dry. I do not know if you guys can hear it. Meta Dennis. I have not been able to astral project. I normally see some kind of scary images or hear frightening noises and get out of the state. Of course, I understand. It's never the same experience. How would you approach this? This you are describing, I have had many times for certain periods. Fortunately, the last years, I have not had any. But it may happen eventually, depending on where I am sleeping, what I have been in contact with. It usually refers to some sort of a pollution in our energy field, almost as if our energy field is not with enough of a force field, enough of a quality in there to protect us or prevent some intrusive presences, ideas, energy. So it's super important that we cleanse our energy. But you know what, Meta? Sometimes it's not only our energy field. Sometimes it's the field of our bedroom, of our house. And of course, you cannot cleanse the whole block because there are too many people. Each of them, they are into their free will to be who they are. You cannot cleanse the whole city. But yes, you can cleanse and make your own bedroom stable. Because if we do not create it's not only cleansing, like I remove the dirt. I mean, energy dirt, spiritual dirt, like entities present. It's not only that, because sometimes we remove what's there, very close by and very obvious, but there are other layers of energy, ideas, even things that are related with previous lives or people that we know or situations that we face or presences that could be in subtler dimensions that they may get close to us in different moments in the middle of the night while we are outside the body, while we are dreaming. And that's why sometimes we have dreams that are horrible nightmares that even in our most imaginative waking state we could not think of and picture that in our minds. So all of that can happen. But in this case, work with energy. Do you know how to do the VELO technique? Do the VELO technique. I promise you that is going to improve a lot. And you are going to be more lucid of what's around. So on one hand, you gain more self-defense, but on the other hand, you'll be able to spot what is wrong there. What is it that you have to work with? Why those energies are present? Why do they get close to you? And sometimes there's nothing wrong with you or how you have your energy field. Sometimes it's more like you are so sensitive that unavoidably you end up picking things and holding on to them. Those who are more sensitive, it's harder for them to let go of the energy because it's almost as if we have to be stiff, energetically speaking, all the time, observant, because otherwise we may have an experience that we don't like, or we may just be drained in a moment that is not favorable. But all of these causes that the situations get, the energy gets stuck in our energy field. VELO, do VELO. And also you can do some emission of energy to your bedroom, but primarily VELO so that you balance yourself and then emit energy, the best energy you can. You can get over this, but not only get over because it's something internal in your inner reality. No, that is objective, it's external. You do not have to be afraid. This cannot hurt you, but it's hurting enough, right? When you see all of that and you cannot have a lucid projection consciously at will because of this, and this is disturbing, it's already hurting because it affects us. So don't be afraid, work with your energy. This is possible to change. Okay? There is a course that I am going to launch in English that I call Multidimensional Force Field. And it's based on exactly this. How can we identify the type of energy that is with us, even those that we are not so conscious about, but they are present, they can be from past lives, what sort of influence it has in our life today, in our relationships, how does it influence the success we have, but the failures we have, and how can we improve the quality of the energy of our room, not only to have it better, but also to create a force field, almost like an energetic informational force field that works in very different or many different layers of the multi-dimensional reality. So if you guys want, you keep an eye, and if you have not subscribed to my newsletter, do so, because I'm going to inform you via email when it's open. And it's going to be for a small group of people because it's a deep, advanced course that those who are there with me, I want to know that they really want to make use of the information so that all of us, we can grow together. So you keep an eye. I'm just saying because, it can be the case that So many of you would benefit from that. But it's not only benefiting from the practical point of view, it's understanding the backstage, the energetic and spiritual backstage that is around of us, and most of the times we have very little information about it. So you keep an eye. If you do subscribe to my newsletter, I never ever share any information, so you can be absolutely confident to leave there your email. I follow all of the hardest protocols of data privacy. Okay, so you guys do it if you're interested, of course, in knowing more and receiving this specific information. Frank here posed a question. What potentialities, possibilities allow OBE that lucid dreams do not allow? Frank, a lot. But here, Frank, you have a big discussion, right? Because the first thing would be to distinguish the out of body experience from the lucid dream. Because the lucid dream is not a, how would I say, is not an objective experience. It's an experience that is objective to us, but it's happening in our inner world, in our mind. So it is a reality or a situation that we can think of, that we can create, that we can grasp, that even good or bad, it's within the limits of what we know right now. And we are lucid right now. The out of body experience is completely different. It would be the same of asking the difference. What would change if you look at many different documentaries telling you how humankind is, or if you go out there and start relating to people, you go look for a job, you visit different cultures and you experience it. What is the difference? One, and even the documentaries are much more complete than lucid dreams, because documentaries bring to you an information that you don't have. Lucid dreams, no. It's only what you already know that is coming to the surface. Having said that, let me make a big parenthesis. If any of you have a lucid dream in which you learn an information that is true and you didn't know, you witness a situation that is happening and you couldn't know, you meet someone that tell you an information or news that you only happen to learn the following day, any of that experience, this is not a lucid dream. A lucid dream does not give you that. A lucid dream is only what you already have inside of you. However, some people, even specialists in lucid dream, they explain lucid dream, and when I hear it, I say they are not explaining lucid dream. They are explaining out of body experience. In order not to make people afraid, they describe it as lucid dream. I think this is deceiving people. We deserve to know what sort of experience we have. We deserve respect enough to have the proper information about what we experience, what's the reality around of us, why it happens, and what can be done. So if you are asking only about the lucid dream per se, in itself, then the difference is absolute. You learn with the out of body experience. You see new things. You can go to realms. You can, visit places. You can help people who are in between lives. They need help. You can help. You can meet a deceased relative, a loved one who passed away. There is so much. We can visit the place we were before being born. There, in the astral dimension or in the spirit world, you can learn why things happen in the way they happen to some people who passed away. Lucid dream does not teach us any of that, unless it's more than a lucid dream. You see the problem with semantics, but it's not semantics, right? It's definition. We have to have a clear definition. I hope I could give you an idea. We have here a big fat hero. I've had many hands touching me when partially leaving physical body. What is this, and is it common? This is common. I mean, it's not so common, but it's normal. I have already sensed it. Some experience already sensed it. It's nothing wrong. The several hands, that is a bit, or many hands, even as you say, that is a bit out of the ordinary, but I don't think any of that is a problem. The problem is what sort of intention and energy those whose hand belonged to had. This is at the end of the day what you have to know. Sometimes there could be even a spiritual mentor, someone who wants to help you detach from your body, to be lucid, to gain understanding of reality beyond the physical world, to help you remember something you already knew before being born. And they can help you. And sometimes it happens that they lift us, or they touch, or they hold our hands and pull. We may feel startled by that and not allow the experience to go further. But usually, what I hear the most and what I have experienced is like a hand in my forehead, or someone lifting me up, or pulling, or someone even touching my leg, but a positive one. Could that be not positive? Yes, it could. And can that be frightening? Yes, because of course you are feeling someone touching you and you don't feel comfortable. It's very important to make sure you, or whoever sends that, is not feeling comfortable because the energies are not good, and not because they are simply afraid of the unknown. Don't be afraid, otherwise you cannot tell what's going on. Any of you, I know it's hard, but at least try in that moment to say, let me observe. Hey, this is not nice. I don't like the feeling of it. Do a VELO technique. Expand your energies, pulse energy out. Boom, get out of that situation. But if you jump to fear, you cannot even analyze. So try to ponder about this I explained and see if that can help you make sense of what is it that you have experienced. Okay? And then I have here, life is a gift. What a nice name you have there for your channel. The question is, do you think a weighted blanket could keep one from leaving the body? Not because of the weight and not because of the blanket per se. Let me just see here that there is something going on here. So not because of the weight and not because you have a blanket on top of you, because the blanket is a physical thing. You detach the body with your astral body, with your energy body. Those are not physical. And that's why when we are outside the body, we can pass through objects. Nonetheless, sometimes what can happen is that the weight brings awareness to your physical body, like you sense your physical body. And yes, that can be a problem, because the more you keep focused on the physical dimension, on your physical body, the harder it is to detach. And so try to see if that is the case there. I'm going to get another couple of questions at least. I hope you guys can hang there with me. It's been some time we are here, right? But okay. um, what is the most high effective technique to go the third eye mind screen vision? When the practitioner see a symbol of the all seeing eye, and after that gets one flat screen hologram. You see, the thing here is that your question is loaded with things that you have read and you have heard, and you are looking for a specific reaction that for you is what would be very advanced experience. However, there is one type of experience that people try to describe in geometric figure they saw, and then they establish that symbol is very important, and everyone else keeps trying seeing that symbol, and then there it goes. It becomes an ideology and a lot of symbolic explanation and representations behind that symbol. That's why it's a symbol, of course. It's a representation of some idea. I am in favor more of you activating your third eye and seeing what comes, because for each of us something different comes. Some people, they see colors. Some people, they can feel their third eye. I have already had that a couple of times, And I wanted so much to experience it. When I had it, I was, wow, celebrating. It's like feeling like a trunk, really a trunk that you can even sense it moving and guide it in a way. Sometimes we feel pulsing, sometimes we feel as if there is an opening in our forehead. Sometimes we can look at an environment and see layers of the non-physical dimension, the multidimensional realities. Sometimes we can see figures. Sometimes we can have a lucid astral projection. Other times you can see the aura of people. So what is it for you? Because what is going to happen first for you is more related to your predisposition. And that predisposition is not something that, it's because my name is X and I was born on this date, at this time, in this place. No, the predisposition that you have is much beyond that. Is what you have already experienced in previous lives, what sort of exercise you have already done, how many lucid astral projections you have had, how many times you have had clairvoyance, and what was your reaction? Fearful? You enjoyed? Were you persecuted, burned because of that? So all of these will have an impact and will be important to be taken into consideration right now. So my suggestion is work with energy. Do VELO. If you have a predisposition to sense this chakra here, you will simply with VELO. Other than that, there are other exercises you can try and do. Pulse your energies, send energy out. But I think it's more important that all of your chakras are activated, are balanced, are working in harmony, aligned, in unison, and you can use whichever chakra is the most important in each specific situation. Sometimes it's going to be the third eye or the frontal chakra. Other times it's going to be a different chakra that is going to be more important in a given specific situation. So try and think of this and see how it goes for you. Hope I helped. Huh? Peter, hi Peter. Um, you touch on many topics in your answer. I am curious about. Oh, great, Peter. I'm glad I could cover what you were asking. Thank you. Hemsync and VELO, and genius techniques. That's interesting. Yes. Um, we have had the visit of the Moral Institute here at the campus in the International Academy of Consciousness. And we have already visited them over there in Virginia to see how we can combine techniques. We are so good into some aspects of understanding what happens and why and how to control and how to explain. And they have other different types of techniques that help a lot of people. So a combination may work, but I'd say they are good for different things and should be applied in different moments. I do not know what you meant, but I just wanted to bring more to your comment here. Wonderful. And I have here William Bidget. Hi, William. Very nice to see you here. Thank you for being live with us. Wonderful to see you. Sometimes my mind travels down this dark path and can't seem to understand why we must endure all this suffering. So my question is, would the VELO help me with this inner sadness I struggle with? I guarantee you it will, William. I guarantee you. Because sometimes it's inside of us and things that we have been through in this lifetime, but in previous lifetimes. But sometimes we are so sensitive and we do not know that we end up absorbing a lot of what is around. We need to learn how to examine the non-physical, the spiritual situation that existed around of us when we were kids, very young kids. I'm not talking about only our families, of course, our family, but it's more than that. It's what sort of spiritual presence were there, what sort of worries were there, and even in previous lives, and what was our last life before coming here. All of these play a role. Will VELO remove this magically? No. But VELO will start organizing all of this in a way that we start understanding and we can work with it. And if there is anything coming from outside, especially if it is this situation that I comment about, we got a lot from the environment, from especially from childhood, but not only friends, the culture we have been brought up in, the neighborhood, the situations, the people around, that tend to stuck inside of us. It's almost as if, let us imagine here in our minds, as if all of our chakras would be here, almost just to create something for us to think about, as if they were some fields of energy, but let's think as if they were some type of air, like a vapor or a smoke, just to think of how it would go. So when we have all of those fields there, they are all with the energies flowing from one to another. It's fluid. And it tends to be usually hours and usually just passing. But some cases, some of us, some energy, they come and they go and they pollute their inside. And therefore, the energy that flow around, in this case, just in my analogy, the smoke that is there, but smoke, I don't mean real smoke, and it's just for us to create in our mind an image of how the energy would be moving, because it's something very subtle. So that would be contaminated from within, from the core. And we try to get out of the sensation that we know is not just, is not logical. It doesn't have to be that bad. Sometimes there's not even enough of a big reason for that, but we can't because it's polluted there inside. So a lot of what we face is exactly this condition, how to cleanse there deeply. And what is it that is still there? Because there are, this is very important, spiritual presence that maintain that with us. Because sometimes we are ready to let go of something and we, okay, now I'm going to do VELO, I'm going to meditate, I'm going to go for a walk, I'm going to get up at 5 in the morning and do something good. And when we are starting to feel good, it's almost like something comes from outside and tells us, hey, remember, you have that situation. Hey, you still have that feeling. Oh, you are not over that yet. And brings all over again. This is very typical of when there are non-physical presences surround and contaminating us. So VELO helps, but how much and how long? What I would suggest to you is long VELO sessions. So suppose you would say every morning, even if you have to wake up half an hour earlier, do it, or 1 hour earlier. Do like 45 minutes VELO before you start the day, for example. But so well done so that you go there to the roots. And it's not necessarily that you remove all the poisoning that is there or all the poison that is there, but it is that you will create such a condition that you steer the energies. So it's harder for the poison to distribute, to contaminate all of you. And it's harder for others from outside, especially non-physical entities, to come and contaminate you. VELO does that. And with time, because of this, we start becoming stronger. And these entities, they start giving up. And then we are left with only our sorrows. But I promise all of you, when we are left with our sorrows, we can work with them. It's within our limits. But when it's our sorrow, plus the contaminations, plus entities saying to ourselves things or telling us we are stupid, we are useless, or they do say that. And then who can face that? So we do need VELO. When I send information about the new course I'm going to offer, William, if you want to join, it will be my pleasure to invite you. Okay? So you please contact me when that is the time. The course I mean about the force field. It has everything to do with this, how to dig deep and find what's in there and see what are the roots inside of us, but what is from outside and what can we do and establish phases to work with this challenge. That's why I say this course is not just a light talk. It's for us to go deep into understanding. It's very pleasant. It's something to make us feel good and give us more techniques, but for us to see what's around, right? So that's why I have a limited number of people to join so that I can follow you. But you, by all means, if you would like, you contact me, okay? And then you contact me, you guys, in around with using info@nancytrivela.com. That is the right email. Otherwise, sometimes I don't see my emails. Sometimes, no, often I don't see. When I reply to any of your emails, oh, that is a great synchronicity, because I am so swamped in tasks that what I like doing the most, sometimes I cannot do it. But that's it. So I'll go to my last question. Is that okay? So we do not make this too long. Jean-Marc, but I promise I come back here and I see the questions that are coming are read second and third for some of you. So that is good. Jean-Marc, thank you for being with us. Your question is, when our consciousness separates from the physical body during an out-of-body experience and lucidity is over 100%, would it be possible to remember past lives? Yes, absolutely. And even before it is 100, it is possible to remember past lives. Sometimes you are 80% lucidity, 90% lucidity, and we can remember past lives. And it's not so much a matter of we trying to remember, let me remember that life, because sometimes we want to remember past life, but we do not know which one. How we press a button that will take us to the life we want to remember. But sometimes a situation we have been experiencing, or someone we are in close contact with, or someone we know, something like this. This can be a factor that when we are projected, just bring to us a recollection of a past life. And usually that's how it happens. So no need for 100% lucidity. And if there is something specific you would like to remember, you can just try and put that as a goal. But it's very, very important. Let me say this to all of you. When you put such a goal to yourself, like I want to remember a past life, or I want to remember who this person was for me, or why I have such a bad connection with that place. I don't know, I'm guessing anything, right? So if you put anything like this to be your target, it's very important that that is a target, but you do not overthink it, because if you overthink it, you may just dream of it. You do not want to dream of it. You want that to be a reality. So it's a target, but not something that you are obsessed with. How can I put that? It's a target, but something that when you experience, you are observing how it flows. You are not guiding it. You are not assuming what's going to happen. You are not allowing your expectations to jump ahead. Because if we do, we interfere with the past life recollection. And that would be a good situation for us to think the higher the lucidity, the less we would interfere, because we would have less emotions, less expectations. And that's why it's a very good point Jean-Marc brings here. More lucid, more stable. We can go further into that. Very good question for us to conclude. May I thank you all who are here with me? Yes. We still have some questions. I have here Shirlene. Let me get this one to finish. How to understand about the image that I must create of the energy during VELO practice. Color, transparency, movement in terms of wave, how it pulses during VELO. I need images. If you need image, and I understand, sometimes some of us, the way that we can think and concentrate, we require some tangible visual aspect. I do understand. What I would create in that case is more like a perhaps transparent wave, but it cannot be a wave that is so light that you imagine it going through, because there is no problem with creating an image to help you concentrate. That is important to clarify to all of you. And I explained that in the course VELO 101. That is the online course that I have created to give you the step by step how to do VELO and explain all of these aspects. So it's very important to distinguish an image that comes spontaneously or that we just use to hold our attention, and an image that ends up influencing how we do the exercise, and therefore it's not just an image, it's an imagination. Because an image is something that we may use to concentrate. And for me, I don't use any image. It's not my way of focusing the energy. It's not my style. But some of you, you just start and an image pops in naturally. So then what is closest would be perhaps a wave, like, but not a wave like in the ocean that you only see the surface. Of course, we see the surface, but the wave is down there, right? It's the whole momentum of the water moving. So something like this. It's a wave that is all over and going through. And once it's reached there, it comes back. But it's very important that even if you think of a wave, you are not imposing how fast the wave will go. What is the type of sensation you sense? What is the type of reaction the wave causes? Because if you include that type of conclusion, that will be imagining the results, and that can interfere on how well you do the exercise. But if it's just an image, that would be okay, good enough. I hope it helped. Charlene, thank you for asking. That's very important to everyone here. Thank you, guys. Goodbye. I look forward to talking to you again. I will be publishing more videos soon. I have some topics here that are super interesting. Some research that I have done many, many years ago with some substances like ayahuasca-like substances. So I wanted to bring that. I didn't use, but I researched some. So I wanted to bring you some of the results of that and some studies on situations that happen outside the body. I have interesting things to bring to you, so you can look forward to it. And mostly, I want to thank all of you who could here be present and take part of your Sunday to be with me. That is an honor for me. Thank you for the excellent questions, and I guess we see each other soon.